everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting your own company as taking the leap, as if they're blindly jumping off a cliff and into the unknown. This show is here to help you understand that it doesn't have to be that way. As always, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and help share The Void with someone who might also be wanting to start their own company. We saw an opportunity to help others understand that self-employment is well within your reach, and just as our businesses have grown organically and by word of mouth, we want this show to grow the same way. So if you see somebody asking questions about starting their own service-based company, please do us a favor and send them a link to the show. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me as always is David Hilton.
Mitch.
David.
I saw you were in a poop ditch again today.
There's a theme going on.
I saw that you posted that, and I was like,
yep.
What I didn't understand, though, is I got it and I saw it, but then all your clothes were really clean.
Oh, I stay super clean.
So I'm thinking it's a scam. Like your guys were there, and then you were like, okay,
No.
I'm gonna come over and jump in, and then be like, okay,
no,
yeah, I'm in a poop ditch again today.
That's a unique thing with me. Like I would work with guys that I swear the first thing they would do is like roll in the mud to feel like they're accomplishing something.
Get
and
grease on their face, like just smear it on there.
I'll stay incredibly clean the entire time. It makes cleanup easier. It makes everything easier.
How do you stay clean?
You just don't
How do you keep
slop around in it.
Oh, you
Like-
mind your P's and Q's?
Yeah, like you
try
get
to
a shovel
watch
full of
where you're
slop. You
gonna-
don't just like plop it on the ground. You place it on the ground so it doesn't splatter everywhere. And like, stuff like that.
Oh, poop
So
smiths are
you can make it
hilarious.
as gross or as clean as it. Yeah.
Ugh.
And this one was like, bleh.
What was it?
When
I
they
should have asked you before the show, but that's okay.
that's all right. When they installed their sewer, they must have. They did. They didn't overdig enough, and so the sewer line was sitting right on a rock.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
over time, it broke the bottom of the sewer out, and tree roots got in there and filled it all up. And we couldn't auger through it. We couldn't do anything. And so we cut that section out, and it was like Mount Vesuvius coming out of there with like a couple of weeks of stuff. It was gross. So,
For all of you eating breakfast on the drive to work today,
right. Yeah.
Vomit brought to you by Mitch Smedley.
If you enjoyed your oatmeal, you
Yeah.
don't anymore, right?
Right.
So, but that's keeping with the theme of things. And ironically, so usually, this is Thursday here, people. Usually we record on Tuesdays.
people.
Usually we record on Tuesdays as well. And Tuesday I was in another shit-filled ditch.
But we didn't do anything on
We didn't
Tuesday.
record on Tuesday because my son had an orchestra concert. And let me tell you what.
Good.
Oh, man, there's a
What grade's he in? I can't remember.
7th grade.
So it was bad.
It's not
Was
pleasant.
rough.
It's rough. And you're in this giant auditorium. It's not like choir where they stand on like risers.
Yeah, where you can
right?
see him.
Yeah, so you can't even see my kid.
No, it's like going to watch band. You know, it's just they're all in a row.
Yeah.
They used to do it like when I first started in 5th grade. So the parents would sit in the bleachers, and then the kids were all on like the basketball floor, and then you
Right.
could see your kid.
Right.
You know, that was before cameras, though.
That's where these used to be.
Ah.
Now they're at the high school
now they get
auditorium.
a fancy auditorium to
Yeah.
go to.
So yeah, it was rather ear piercing.
For anyone that wants to talk about business, it's going to be a while, so just listen for a little bit. Maybe it'll be entertained.
We could start talking about business right now.
What do you want to talk about?
Let's
What are we talking
talk about third-party vendors and how they are the key to your success or your failure in a new business venture.
I know what a third-party vendor is. What's a third-party vendor, Mitch?
A third-party vendor would be like, I'll just use us for an example. We're a plumbing service company. Third-party vendors for us would be like our material supplier, our excavation rental provider when we rent excavators to do all of these sewer jobs and stuff. Third-party vendors would be the people we buy vehicles from, the people we're buying shelving from for our vehicles. The person that I buy and repair our sewer drain augers with, have a very close relationship with that guy. You kind of have to.
Are you a Spartan man or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got Jason Roby. That's
He's your Spartan
he's my Spartan
distributor,
guy.
huh?
He's awesome too. You want to talk about an example of a great third-party vendor? That's right there. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I don't even I can just text him and say, like, hey, can I get a couple more cables for these machines? And he'll say, sure thing. And 3 days later, here they are on my doorstep.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
Got them.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you don't have one that's good,
Yeah.
or you don't have one that's reliable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're expecting, the problem is your customers expect something from you, and when you have to wait on a third-party vendor to get something, now it puts you in an awkward position if they don't have it,
Right.
or they're lazy, or they can't get it for 2 weeks. It just makes you. This goes back to the last show we talked about difficult conversations. It brings up difficult conversations that you shouldn't have to have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, I can't get that 2-ton AC. It's going to be 3 or 4 days. Well, meanwhile, the guy that bid a Linux system over here, his distributor's like, oh, no, I got tons of them.
Right.
So that customer may just call them and say, hey, you know what? Could cost you a sale right there.
Right.
Cost you $3,000.
Yeah.
For nothing. Just... and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
When you start losing sales or you start having serious problems, it's really tough. And it's really tough when you don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when we first started out in plumbing, there was Warren Supply. I'm trying to think of all the ones that were around us. Warren, Neenan, Win Nelson,
Yep.
Ferguson. And now really there's 2 good ones. There's Neenan and Ferguson, and that's really kind of it.
Yeah.
So if both of them or one of them's hosing you around, you can't just go down the street anymore.
Right.
You just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it makes it tough.
Yeah. Where where I think a lot of people go wrong is they're so focused, and this is, we've talked about it in previous shows about opportunities to practice to be the customer you want for your business. Where a lot of people go wrong is they will price shop to the nth degree and cost themselves relationships and cost themselves dramatic amounts of time and everything just because they're trying to price shop to the nth degree.
Yeah, they're trying to save 20 cents. So if they were literally paying themselves $5 an hour and they price shop so much that they spent $1,000 on themselves doing it and they saved $100,
yeah,
that's a $900 hole.
Right.
A lot of guys, we know one specifically that he does this all the time, and literally, if he just spent half of his focus on something else,
yeah,
he make 20% more money.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
I mean, there's price shopping, and then there's taking it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. There's if a fitting costs $6, and then you call 5 different places and you can find it for, $610, $590, $620, okay, I got it. It's around $6, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to price that job based off of that fitting costing around $6. Whereas other guys would be like, hold on, let me see if I can find it cheaper. And they'll spend another 15 or 20 minutes trying to find it for like $5.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll what's the cliche saying? They're tripping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yeah. They're spending $1 to save a dime.
Yeah. Where
dime holding up $1.
Where we were talking here recently on that show about difficult conversations, and the difficult conversation I had to have with our parts supplier, we use Ferguson for our parts supplier. They're not known for being the cheapest, right? And you can get on any internet forum out there and hear it until you're blue in the face that Ferguson's not the cheapest. However, they always have it. And there was a time where they weren't having it, and they were always out of stock and all this stuff. Well, I had to have that difficult conversation with them and let them know. Well, after we had that conversation, they're right back to where they were before. And that makes a huge, huge difference. Yeah, they might be just a little bit more. I actually price shopped them today. I bought 4 items. I bought 4 items that were right at about $50 each from Ferguson. And then ironically, 4 or 5 hours later, I'm in Home Depot. And I happened to see those exact same items at Home Depot. And at Home Depot, they were like $44 each, right? So they're $6 cheaper at Home Depot. It's actually 12% cheaper, okay?
Yeah.
Well,
It's not a big deal
Do
on
I
two
really-
things, but it's a big deal if you had to have 200.
Well, maybe. But, I'm looking at it like Home Depot may or may not always have it. Home Depot's quality is never anywhere near what Ferguson's quality is. And so I'm okay spending the extra money. And it just kind of reaffirms that, yep, Ferguson is just a tad bit more expensive. However, they never let me down. And, every time I go in there, they've got what I need. So, and they haven't, they don't, for all I know, they're going to get mad that I'm talking about them like that, but I'm not bad mouthing them.
They can't sue us.
They're not a sponsor of the show, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
We're not making any money.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? We're going to shut you down. Why? You're not getting anything.
Right. Right.
What I hate is, and this gets back to the other, the show we just had too, is guys will literally, I've seen it happen. They'll be at, I'm not going to say any of the ones I work at or for, but they'll be, say they're going to be buying a jug of refrigerant. Okay, and say the jug of refrigerant's $400.
Right.
And they'll call down to North Kansas City and be like, "Oh, we've got it for $380." Oh, okay. Well, I don't want that. I'm going to go down here and get it. And they will literally leave, drive for 20 minutes, get it, drive 20 minutes back, and spend gas money to save $20.
Right.
Even if you weren't paying yourself an hourly wage, you've lost money and time in the day.
Yeah.
I try to tell guys all the time, you cannot buy more time.
Right.
This gets into life. This gets into everything. Whether you're super rich or super poor, at the end is the end.
Yep.
Okay. You cannot buy more time.
Yep.
Same thing during the day in business. You cannot buy more time. If a job has to be done by this, if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Yeah.
It's over. So don't just think of it as money. Think of it as time, as in you're trying to save it. And we talked about that in the other show. That's what I was getting at, about guys that seem very productive versus guys that don't. Sometimes they're using that. Okay,
Yeah.
do I really want to drive down there and waste an hour to save, say it's $50? It's still saving you more money
Exactly.
to just spend the $50 and move on with your life.
And wear and tear on your vehicle and everything else,
and
right?
Getting to the next call.
Yep.
Say you could get another call in that day. Guess what? You just made that $50 plus back.
Yeah.
And guys, they have a real difficult time when it comes to spending money and seeing it as a broader vision.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to realize that.
Yep.
I was trying to pinch pennies. I don't have money for this. I don't have money for that. And then you sit down and you think about it, and you've had a couple beers, and you're like, man, I burned up an hour and a half today doing literally nothing.
Right.
And just, wasted all that time. I could have been doing this, or I could have been doing that.
And if I'm in a customer's home for an hour and a half, how much are they paying me, right? So
Right.
then you call that like an opportunity cost of
Right.
how much did it actually cost me to save $20 on this venture across town. So I operate out of our price book is built off of the pricing that we get from Ferguson for our plumbing parts, right? And the price is the price. It is what it is. Ferguson just sent me an email the other day. PVC fittings are going up another 8%. It is what it is.
4-inch PVC pipe, $8 a foot.
Yeah.
What?
I adjust my pricing.
Used to be $1.
I adjust my pricing and I move on.
Yeah.
Right? I don't, these guys are griping about, the price of, I'm going to go out of business and the price of fittings and all this stuff. Like, guys, material pricing is not your problem.
No.
It's your customer's problem.
Yeah.
And
That gets to control the things you can control.
right.
That's one of those things. And look, we're not saying it's easy, because it is hard. It's hard, especially you have a big customer that does a lot of work, and that little pricing, like in your industry, or what you do specifically, all of those increases aren't going on a big invoice for one big customer.
Right.
It's broke up. It's a little easier. Say you're in new construction, and that means it's the price of a house went up 15%, and you're doing 20 houses a year for a guy. That's a big chunk of money for him.
It is.
And I see why guys stress about it, is my point. And it is tough. You got to figure out,
If you're doing new construction work, then you just need to be writing your pricing that this price is based off material pricing as of this day.
yeah.
And depending on when this project starts, the bid price will reflect any changes in material pricing based off of when the project starts. So that way you put the accountability back on the builder. Say, look, if you drag your feet 4 months before this starts and the pricing of material went up 8% for 4 months in a row, well, guess what? My bid just went up to
Yeah.
reflect that over those 4 months.
Well, but that goes to my point of why guys stress out about it. So say you do that and say, hey, this is my bid, this is my price, and then it goes and they're worried about it the whole time, and it goes 4 months. They're like, man, are we going to start that job or what? And then the builder says, okay, we're going to start to this. I need new pricing.
Right.
Well, that guy's already nervous and has anxiety because he already knows in his mind. The builder may come to me and say, no, I'm not going to pay that, and go look at someone else.
Right.
That's where that comes from. And
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but it is the responsible thing for you to do is what you just said. You've got to have that in writing and say, hey,
Yeah.
guys, this is where we're at. And I know a lot of guys, that's what they're doing now. They're
Yeah.
like, hey, and when you get prices from, I have a funny example of it. When you get prices from Ferguson or Neenan or wherever, they'll put a date on there now.
Yeah.
Good till what?
Good till
you know
what?
what? And
Yep.
those dates are getting closer and closer. I'm not kidding you. We priced out some stuff the other day, and literally we got it on May 5th, and it said on there, this price is good till May 4th. And I'm like, are you
This price is good till yesterday.
are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, what? I'm like, surely that's somebody just screwed up. But it's like,
Right.
come on, man.
Yeah.
That's basically where we're at right now.
Yeah.
The way the economy's going.
They're
Thanks,
super
Joe.
fast with it. Yeah.
Thanks for that, buddy.
Yeah. Let's go, Brandon. The easiest way to handle all of that is you just have to split up, like, how much are you making on your jobs and how much is material costing, and then you hold what you're making. Like, you can control your labor portion of things, right? So you hold that fairly steady, but your price can move to reflect the material cost quite a bit. So let me just use like round numbers, like for what we do. Let's say I'm going to do some form of repair where there is $350 in material cost and $50 $350 in labor costs or labor charges to the customer and $50 in material charges to the customer. We don't split that out in our invoices. We bundle all that together. So
Yeah.
that repair would be a $400 repair, right? Well, on the back side of things, on my side of the price book, I can see the difference, right? I can see that we've got $350 for labor and we've got $50 for material. Well, when my vendor comes up and has an 8% price increase on material, well, all I have to do is adjust my material pricing in the book, and now instead of $50, it's $54. And so now that repair goes from $400 to $404. And it doesn't really, my labor doesn't change because the material pricing went up. And so I'm still making the same amount of money. I'm still covering my material cost, and I've passed that material pricing increase on to the end consumer. And that's who really should do it. And if you're of the mindset that that's who really should pay for it. And if you're of the mindset that that you should somehow be eating rising material costs because it's not for your customer to pay for,
you're not going to make it, bro.
you're not going to make it in business beyond the week.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately,
You're going to be spending all your profit to make your customer happy
right,
or to
Right.
keep your price down.
yeah,
And you're not going to make it. So what you were afraid of happening is happening.
yeah,
If you're afraid you're going to go out of business, so you keep your prices down, but then you go out of business because you ate up all your profit, you're still out of business.
yeah. Your fears will become reality really fast there.
Yeah.
So I do it that way. I have a very simple spreadsheet that I track all of that material cost on, and it handles that really, really well. It helps that I have a vendor that reciprocates that. We do that with all of our vendors. We, like, when we rent a machine to dig a sewer, we factor that into our cost, and those machine rental prices are going up like crazy, with the price of gas going up, and they have to deliver them out to us and everything else. And so, we just factor it in. And so our price for a sewer replacement went up a little bit because the cost of an excavator to rent went up a little bit. So, like, step one for having successful third-party vendors, is going to be to understand that their price is just, like, you're passing their price right through you and on to the customer. And if their prices move up and down, your price with the customer needs to move up and down and fairly quickly. The safety net there is marking up their price a little bit. So like when I get an email from Ferguson that tells me that PVC pipe's going up 8%, I don't sweat it. Like,
Just update what you're doing.
yeah, I mean, I'm marking up my material well over 8%. So it just means I'm making a tad bit less money on the material until I adjust my prices.
Yeah.
So Ferguson sends me those emails, and it gives me a moment to
Yeah.
say, okay, I need to carve out some time and update my pricing again.
Let me ask you a question, because this was brought up to me. Say material cost is $100,
Mm-hmm.
and you mark that up 10%. Okay, that's $10, right? That price goes up to $150, but your markup is still 10%,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's so you're making $15 on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
that's good for you,
Yeah.
right? What happens when the people the people that you're doing work for, know that you mark up price,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come to you and they say, "Hey, look, I was having to pay a markup of this, and it was costing me X. And now every time that price goes up, I'm actually paying you more
Mm-hmm.
for the same piece of pipe that I was getting before. Not just more of the inflation price of it or the price going up,
Mm-hmm.
but also your profit margin is going up on that pipe."
Well, your
How do
profit
you-
margin's not, because you're maintaining.
You're right. Your
10%
margins,
market.
your margin's not. But what he's paying for
Mhm.
that piece of pipe is a higher percentage than what he was paying before. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah.
And now he's a smart guy, right? He knows, and now he's thinking, man. So he's marking it up, but instead of making $10, he's making $15. Oh, it's gone up again. Instead of him making $10, he's making $20,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm having to foot that. Like, the company's not,
Right.
but I am. So if I go get it myself, why would I continue to pay you to do that?
Right.
Is basically, that was what he was saying. And I get it. I was like, yeah, I understand. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
He's like, so if it keeps going like this, and I've been seeing this trend for a year and a half, 2 years, and I just keep going with it, I mean, how do I overcome that? What's the conversation you have with him is my real question.
So the conversation that I would have is that the reason we mark our material pricing up is because that's what allows us, for one, the overhead that it takes to round the material up. For two, that allows us to warranty that material. So, and in full disclosure, I don't have any piece of material that I only mark up 10%. We mark our material up by like a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
I was just saying that for
yeah,
easy math.
yeah.
Most guys are double. The rule of
Yeah.
the rule of thumb in the early 2000s was double.
Yeah.
On really small stuff, it was times 3. Just depending on what it was.
Right. And so I've got a sliding scale. So like my spreadsheet with all of my pricing in it, it's set so that items between $1 and $5 are marked up at a different rate
Yeah.
than items that are $500.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but they're all marked up. And the reason we mark up material is not so that the business can make extra money. It's so the business can afford to be the material supplier to the customer.
It costs a lot of money to get that stuff, stock that stuff, do
Yeah.
all that. You're marking up price. I say equipment because I'm HVAC equipment and parts and stuff, so that it doesn't cost you extra money to have them.
Right.
That's
right.
why that stuff's marked up.
Yeah. Our trucks carry $14,000 in inventory on them. And there's carrying costs with that, right? So for one, the business has to have $14,000 to buy it all. That's why we mark it up. For two, our trucks are a lot less fuel efficient when you load them down with $14,000 in material. That's part of why we mark it up, is to cover the fuel bill.
Yeah.
And then for three, we have to go to the supply house and replenish all of that material. That's time that we're not being paid for. So that's why we mark it up.
Yeah.
I've never had a customer hit that point like what you just did there with, as material cost increases and your markup stays the same, you actually are making more with
Yeah.
this. But
Well, and not
I would imagine you would get that on like a larger commercial account.
commercial account or somewhere where you do a lot of work consistently.
Yeah.
Someone that's spending a lot of money on your company every year,
Yeah.
and they're smart enough to sift through all the invoices, and they're, maybe they do a lot of stuff on their own also, so they're going getting parts and doing, a little maintenance here and there, and guys aren't stupid, and I bring it up because it wasn't an awkward conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it. I see what's going on, and he did too. And the guy still uses us.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's just like, hey, where's the point of enough's enough?
Yep.
Where, I mean, if I spend, I've had guys say stuff like, if I spend over this on material, do I get a break? And I know lots of companies that give that break, but I mean, we're talking about a lot of money for a lot of big material. Yes, you should probably give them a break.
Right.
If they're buying that much material from you, is labor going to be? No, they're still paying the same in labor.
Yeah.
It's just, and I've done work for guys. I don't like doing it. I've only done it a few times where they say they had an account. They were big enough they had an account somewhere and purchased the material on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't do it on a hourly scale. It was bid scale. I would always just work a little bit of that, for miscellaneous, try to, get a few of those bucks back.
Right.
You just got to be thinking about all that different stuff in those scenarios when you're dealing with those vendors.
Yeah. Yeah. We have customers all the time that'll ask us like, well, how much is it if I provide my own ... Toilets is a very, very common one. Right?
Yeah. Cause they can all go to Home Depot and get that American Standard 12 golf ball flush toilet for, I don't know what it is now.
Right. And so we just, we let them. Like, we have two prices for toilets. One is for a toilet we provide, and one is for a toilet you provide. And those prices are about $350 different.
Yeah.
So we're full disclosure. You're going to spend $350 more for a toilet that we provide. And they'll say, "Was the toilet cost that much?" No. You can go buy one at Home Depot for like $200.
Yeah, but you're spending the time to go buy it.
But do you want to drive up to Home Depot? Do you want to? And also at Home Depot, they all come in one box.
Yeah, they're heavy.
When we buy them, it's three different boxes. You got the tank in one box, the bowl in one box, and the seat in another.
A lot easier to handle.
So if you want to go through all the hassle it takes to save $150, then have at it.
And guess what? When that thing has an issue,
exactly,
you're not handling the warranty on that. You're going to tell them, hey, look, if this has an issue and it's not something we caused, like if there's not a leak between the supply tube and the valve, and there's not a leak at the wax ring, it's on you.
Right.
You're going to have to call. You're going to have to deal with it. Will we come out and repair it? Of course we will.
Right.
We're going to charge you to work on it.
Yep.
It's not going to be under warranty.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people will say, okay, yeah, just...
Yeah, and usually you never even have to dive that deep into the conversation.
No, you don't.
And if you find yourself having to dive that deep into the conversation, it's probably because you steered the conversation in that direction, because you personally have a problem marking up material. Like, you aren't okay with it.
Yeah,
and
you feel guilty about it.
You feel guilty about it,
Don't feel guilty about marking up your equipment,
Never, ever
guys.
feel guilty about marking it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, literally, we will, our modifier for $5 items and less is we mark them up times 4. Yeah. So, when we're buying $5 items, we're selling them to the customer for $20.
Yeah.
Look at it this way. They're going to pay $20 to have frickin' McDonald's delivered to their house. They're going to spend $20 to avoid going through a drive-through. They will not have a problem at all giving you $20 for a $5 flapper.
Yeah. They can go to Home Depot and buy that flapper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, that's how we handle it. Now, we don't mark up our water heaters times 4, right?
No.
They're it's a much more expensive item, so they're reduced down. But
yeah, you can't price yourself out.
Yeah. So, and the reason we've kind of dove deep into the pricing side of things is because in order for you to be successful with your third-party vendors, like your material suppliers and stuff like that, most of that success hinges upon your mindset and your mentality of how are you using that vendor. if you're constantly searching for the cheapest vendor out there, you're not going to ever see success with a vendor. You're gonna always and forever. Let's say you have 4 different places to buy material from, but if you're the price shopper that's constantly comparing prices, you're going to have a bad taste in your mouth with all 4 of them because you're going to remember the one time where they were the highest on this, or the one time where the other place was the highest on that,
Yeah.
or whatever, and so it just puts you into the mode of they're out here to screw me, and I've got a price shop. It's like
Yeah.
the rising cost of gas right now, right? I was looking at a community page on Facebook, and somebody mentioned like gas just hit $4 a gallon here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And it's all this uproar, right? Well, somebody posted the other day, "Oh, gas is $3.79 over here." Hurry, as if they're gonna like run out or whatever. Maybe they'll change the price. I don't know. But okay, so it's 20 cents cheaper. How many gallons of gas do you think an average car holds?
I'd say the average is probably 20-gallon tank.
20-gallon tank. So that's $4.
Yeah.
These people are going to go way out of their way to drive across town
To save $4.
to save $4 fucking dollars. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the people that are never ever happy.
Yeah, and if it's $4 a gallon and their car gets 20 miles to the gallon and it takes them 21 miles to get there,
right,
you just cost yourself money
yeah,
and time.
yeah,
That gets back to what we were talking about earlier, time management.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what causes people to do that, but it makes people insane.
yeah.
It drives they are insane about certain things and they will just do it.
Yeah.
And
therefore they will never have a successful relationship with that vendor because they think the vendor's always trying to screw them. Whereas I've gone the other way with it. Like we literally are whole hog. Everything we get is from Ferguson. And they know this. And like the only time we will not buy from them is if we need a specialty item that they don't carry, or if we run out of something and it just doesn't make sense to drive 40 minutes to Ferguson when another vendor might be 5 minutes away. Like we don't even price shop. We just time is money.
You just
We
go
go to
there
the
and get it.
closest vendor and we get it, right?
Yeah. And it makes, if you think that these vendors don't talk to each other or move from one place to another, or other plumbers don't talk about you, it gets around real quick when you're the shiesty cheapskate that's calling everybody. And a lot of those guys will be like, you know what? When they call, I'm adding. They can go, guys, listen, they can go into their computer and add or take off money whenever they want.
Yep.
Okay, so don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Because it may cost you $4 per item from now until you retire.
Yeah.
You may have pissed one guy off and he's a real passive-aggressive person and he's like, I'm changing his multiplier. He may never even notice. Click, click. Guess what? He could have cost you $20,000 over a 10-year span,
right? Just
because you were price shopping him to save 4 cents and then were an asshole about it after.
Right, right. You're annoying when you do that, right?
Yeah.
So another thing, like with Ferguson, we just bought all of our plumbers Pro Press machines, right? And
losers.
If you're not a plumber listening to this show, a Pro Press machine allows you to make water pipe connections without using flame and torch and solder and all that kind of stuff.
It's for plumbers that aren't plumbers. Got it. Check.
Sure.
Understood.
Dave's firing shots over the bow here until he learns that they make them for HVAC too.
I know they do, and I refuse to use them.
So it
pains me to use PEX. Let's just say that.
Oh man.
I like the smell of flux and burnt flux and burnt solder and burnt copper.
Yeah.
So
we just got all of our plumbers these ProPress machines, right? And so I'm looking at buying quite a few ProPress machines. A lot of guys are like, "Oh, can I get a deal? I'm getting one." Well, we're buying like multiples.
They're so heavy too. It's like,
yeah. Well, we got the small, compact ones.
2-inch jaw on that thing.
They were talking. They had this deal coming out. They were going to have like we got Milwaukee brand Pro Presses, and they were going to have like this Milwaukee vendor event. It's coming up in 6 weeks. Be ready. Everything you buy is going to be like 10% off. That day, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have hamburgers and hot dogs. Yeah. Come out and check it out.
And I had already made the decision that we were going to buy these Pro Press machines, and so I talked to my contacts there at Ferguson, and I say, hey. I was going to buy these. However, I see that you're having this event where they're 10% off in 6 weeks. I want them now, but I want the 10% off too. Like, I budgeted for them to buy them now.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 6 weeks for them, but I want it seems silly that you're going to give me 10% off if I wait 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And so they were like, don't worry about it. We got you. And
That company says that a lot about stuff.
yeah,
And I don't even buy a lot from
Yeah.
them.
And so I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, oh yeah, totally. Don't worry. So here, 3 or 4 days later, they order them. 3 or 4 days later, they show up, and here I'm walking out with cartfuls of Pro Presses, and they're like, we're not even like, we're just gonna pen the invoice in. We're gonna date it for the day of that thing. Like, you don't even owe us anything until that day. And I'm like, I'm happy to pay now. Like they're telling me not to even pay for 6 weeks.
Jackpot.
And I'm like, I just wanted the
Free
10% down, and they said
progress.
nope, just wait. Well, over the 6 weeks, they kept coming out with more promos, and then like the more you spent, the more promo you got, and everything else. We ended up getting 10% off and $350 off each machine.
Jackpot.
Yeah, and it's all because I was very direct and very clear with my vendor. I wasn't asking for anything crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm telling them I want to spend a bunch of money with you, but I see that you have this 10% thing off coming here since 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'd like to have the product now, but I kind of want that, like, and they're like, we got it. We totally got it. So keeping those honest relationships, and Ferguson knows that I shop everything with them. So like they're happy to take care of me on things like that. So you end up getting better deals when you show some loyalty and some allegiance to your vendors. Your vendors are more willing to work harder for your business, even though they know they have it, and they're more willing to bend over backwards for you when they know that you have some allegiance there. So, and they also highly respect you when you do have those difficult conversations with them, because it sets the tone that you're not going to get walked over.
Yeah. And another thing too is if you have good relationships with your vendors, because they sell to walk-ins. When walk-ins come in and say, do you recommend a plumber?
Yep.
Guess what?
Yeah.
They're giving out your name.
Yeah.
Okay? If you treat them with respect, they like you. I know it sounds so stupid high school crap. Well, if they like you, then, well, you know what? Unfortunately, real life is kind of like high school sometimes.
Yeah.
You set those relationships up. If it gets you 3 sales,
yeah.
I mean, those were just sales you weren't going to have, and all you had to do was do the right thing.
Was not be a dick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like not bust their chops over them being 5% higher on price on something.
Yeah.
So
all you had to do is be respectful and stay in your lane, and
Yeah.
you got more business.
Yep.
And that gets back to the mindset of just, I don't want to say millionaire mindset that we've talked about before, but it's just the mindset of try to do the right, thoughtful thing all the time, no matter the situations. Be conscious of where you're at, what's going on, what your customers think, what vendors think, what other plumbers think about you, or other lawnmowers or whatever your trade you're in.
Yeah.
Just be conscious and be aware of all of those different things, and it will work out for you 99% of the time.
Right. Right. Yeah. The opportunities for you to be a customer, be like a customer that you want for your business are there every day. And you'll realize just like, everyone out here or everyone listening, if I told you like, who's your best customer, you're going to immediately picture a customer that is super easy to work with, that never gripes about the bill, that pays on time,
Calls you back all the time.
calls you back, right?
Yeah.
Go be that guy. That guy could shop you around. That guy could find a cheaper price. That guy could nickel and dime you on every invoice. Well, if he did that, he's not your best customer.
Yeah.
Right? Who's the customer you're willing to bend over backwards for? It's that guy.
Yeah.
So be that customer with your vendors. And if you do that, man, it changes the game wildly.
Yeah.
It just changes the game immensely. Well, another thing that I do with our vendors is I hate the idea of like net terms on vendors.
Yeah.
I look at it like customers have paid me for the parts, customers paid me for the work, and here you aren't asking for money for 30 days plus, right? Like you're going to wait until 15th of the next month before you're asking me for money. That just doesn't set well with me. So we worked up a deal where we pay our vendor weekly. Like literally every invoice, every item that we've bought that they've processed an invoice on, we'll go through all of last week's items all of last week's invoices that they've processed. And then every Wednesday, we pay our Ferguson bill every Wednesday. And so like we have an account with them. The account's not even ever in like it's never it's always in the positive, I guess I should say, because
Yeah, because credits and whatnot.
yeah, like there's never a moment where we've even had to hit the term, right? Because we're always just
Yeah.
weeks out, and there's times where we are cash flow heavy or cash flow poor, and so there was a time where I had to add another plumber to the crew, and I did that sooner than I was expecting, and so we were at a cash flow point where I wasn't quite ready to plunk down 14,000 on material. And so I told her, my sales lady, I said, I need to buy 14,000 of material. I'm just giving you a heads up now. I probably won't have this paid next week, like every other invoice. Like I may actually run you to your net 30 terms on this one.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, you're totally like everyone else. Like we're calling them 90 days later,
Yeah.
begging them to pay us.
Yeah.
If you have to go to the standard term on this one, it's fine.
You'll be
right?
fine.
And sure enough, we never even had to do that. It was like 2 or 3 weeks later, and we got them all squared away. But those are the types of things that happen when you show some allegiance to your vendors. You're
Yeah.
going to get vendors that are bending over backwards for you and make you look really, really good to your customers.
Yeah. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I hated having accounts like that. So I just had a company credit card.
Right.
Because I hated that, one vendor would send, you'd get them on the 5th. One you'd get them on the 15th. Or if it was a big one, like you said, and they're just rolling them, on their term, you may get 2 in 1 month, or you'd get this.
Yeah.
So I shut all the accounts down, got one credit card,
Yep.
and then I used that because I knew that came the first of every, I think it was the 12th or something, but the 12th of every month.
Yep.
And then I had a paper copy that I could verify all my receipts on, and then I could write one check,
Yep.
and everything was done that way. And I liked getting the points. I had
Yeah.
a Cabela's card,
Yep.
so then I got free guns and ammo and what else.
Who doesn't love free guns?
Yeah. I think for me at the time, I'll just be humble here, it was easier for me to do that because I didn't know how to keep track of all that stuff.
Dude, is it
like I should have, and I didn't have a secretary, so it was easier for me to just get that card.
Yep.
The Dave Ramsey program is never have a credit card ever in the history of mankind. Well, you know what? I
His
don't agree
program's-
with that one.
Well, his program's for personal. It's not for business.
Yeah, I like to be able to have all that stuff in one whack. And I know lots of guys that do it that way, and that's how I got the idea. Because to be honest, I was like, man, I got this, I got this, and I'm running calls, answering the phone. How am I going to organize all that? And literally, like a light bulb came on. I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go to my personal bank and say, hey, I need a business credit card, and I need it to have X limit on it.
Mm-hmm.
Will you guys do that? I signed up
Done.
to the one dealer, like, here you go.
Right.
And it was so much easier for me. So guys, if you're thinking about, say you have 10 vendors and they're all coming at different times, maybe do it that way.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
If you're a one-man show, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
We did the account thing because we always knew we wouldn't always be a one-man show, and I didn't want to give everybody company credit cards.
Well, and you have a staff.
Yeah.
You have someone that can keep track of all that stuff. It's easier. You're not trying to juggle all that yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. If you're a one-man show, that is no doubt the easiest way to handle it.
It's the easiest
sure.
way. And if you like free stuff, I know guys that literally that do $2 million a year and have black cards, and they seriously put everything on it.
Yeah.
Everything on it.
Yeah.
And they're literally getting, $10,000 a year in free stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit more, and you have to have some deep pockets to get that credit card that's got, an $80,000 limit or 50 or whatever, whatever they've got on them.
Right.
But, if you ever get there, hey.
Yeah.
Free miles.
I mean, it's free
going to
miles.
Hawaii, baby.
Yeah.
You whatever you get.
Send the family on a trip for
maybe
nothing.
get that. What's the one card that's got the 1.5% cash back? I mean, that's cash back right off the top.
Right.
Free money, baby.
Coming back.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Buy yourself something nice.
So what we're getting at with this whole show is that your success with customers relies on your ability to have great relationship with your vendors, and your ability to have great relationship with your vendors relies a lot on the mindset at which you enter that vendor's business with. So look at them like they're there to help you, not screw you, and set your pricing up in a way that you're basically just adding on top of whatever the vendor's price is, and that allows you to look at them a little bit easier. And Ferguson's price is higher than everywhere else. I don't care because my pricing is built to handle it. So it just gets passed off,
Yeah.
right? So that helps. If you do that with all of your vendors, or have some kind of a system like that with all of your vendors, it will help dramatically. So the only ones that doesn't work with are like what I would call like dead cost vendors. Vendors where you have to buy something and you're not, it's like a true overhead cost of the business. For instance, like where we get our uniforms from. I could shop around and maybe try to get our uniforms a little bit cheaper because I'm not able to like mark that up or anything.
Yeah.
It's just raw overhead cost.
Yeah.
What we're paying for cell phone plans and all of that kind of stuff, I may be able to find that cheaper.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily directly correlate to the customer's experience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like when we first started talking about, doing this show, I was thinking of a specific example of like, say you didn't have a water heater on your truck.
Mm-hmm.
And these were questions I was going to ask Mitch. Say you didn't have a water heater on your truck and you told the customer, okay, I'm going to yank this out. They're supposed to be bringing me one here in an hour. You have your guy show up. You've got that one yanked out. The vendor calls and says, hey, we don't have that. Something got screwed up. And now you're in serious frustration, pissed off mode.
Yep.
The customer thinks it's coming. You've already told the customer it's coming.
Yep.
You've already quoted the customer a price based off of their price, and now you're not going to get it at all.
Right.
I mean, what do you do? Do you just get on the horn and start calling other vendors and trying to get it as fast as you can? Do you go up to Home Depot? And then how do you handle that with the customer?
Well, for one,
hey, first off, Home Depot sells A.O. Smith now.
No.
Yes.
Well,
State.
They sell
Is it A.O. Smith?
Lowe's sells A.O. Smith.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, but it is not.
Yeah.
It is not an A.O. Smith water heater like what you're seeing in a professional plumbing supply store.
Yeah, they're the same junk.
No.
Still the same liner.
So I happen to be friends, while we're on this tangent, I happen to be friends with the Honeywell representative. Okay? Honeywell makes the gas control valves for a lot of water heaters, right?
Honeywell makes me so mad.
So I noticed, I was doing some work in their personal home, and I noticed like a lot of the water heater control valve failures I go on are on water heaters that originated from a box store. These aren't like professional plumbing, like they're different units, right?
Yes,
and you
that
can
control
tell.
valve is 100% different.
Yeah, and so like we've known for years that they're making the steel cheaper. The glass lining in the tank is cheaper. All of the brass parts are cheaper. A lot of the brass parts have been replaced with plastic parts, which are cheaper. Like every part of that tank is cheaper.
It's so they can sell more of them later.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it went out. I've got to replace it. What do? I go buy another one.
Yeah, it's the consumable market, right?
Yeah.
Well, I never dreamed that Honeywell would make a completely different control valve because they look identical. I didn't dream that Honeywell would make a completely different control valve. Well, I asked this rep, I'm like, hey, all these control valve failures I see, they're on like box store water heaters. I never see failed control valves on professional plumbing supply store water heaters. And they were like, yeah, it's different. And let me make a phone call real quick and I'll tell you the parts that are different. And she makes a phone call, calls me I'm staying in her house. She, hits me right back and she's like, yeah, this part's different, and this part's different. So yeah, they'll fail faster. I'm like, holy shit. So that's why you want to avoid buying a lot of stuff from Home Depot because it's truly inferior product.
Let's talk about that real quick. The fact that they would do that drives me insane.
Yes, absolutely.
That is not the right thing to do.
No.
From someone, oh man, it makes me so mad. I can't even think of the right words to say. Why would you do that? You would do that to intentionally screw people. You would do it to intentionally screw people. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing to make more money. There's a way to make more money, and then there's the wrong way to make more money. That's the wrong way to make more money.
That is driven by corporate greed.
Yeah.
Which is driven by trying to squeeze an extra margin point over here.
Yeah.
And trying to squeeze an extra margin point over here. And we're going to try and sell more units, but if we can also make more on the units we are currently selling, then we look good to our shareholders.
Yeah.
And instead of giving better customer service,
We're gonna make cheaper parts.
we're going to make cheaper parts.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a corporate level example of looking at your vendors poorly, right?
Yeah.
Instead of telling your vendors like, charge what you have to charge, give me good product, be there for me and my customers, they're going the other way.
Yeah.
They're going, I don't want to pay that.
I need cheap.
I need cheaper. I need cheaper. I need and look at the end result.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I walked into to Home Depot the other day, and there's 5 failed water heaters sitting at the door that people have dropped off under warranty. There ain't 5 failed water heaters sitting at the professional plumbing supply store, and they sell a hell of a lot more of them.
I love how they say right on the box, do not take this back to the store. Pfft,
Yeah.
I'm taking that dude back
You
to the
bet
store
your ass
every
I
time,
am.
and I'm dropping it off in the front and saying,
Yeah.
where's my next water heater?
Yeah. That's it, it's
You,
just
you can't be making money that way.
right.
Honeywell can't be making money that way. Home Depot and Lowe's can't be making... I mean, they're making money on their other stuff, yeah, but on those, they can't be making money.
I'm not even going to try to figure that part out.
They can't. They just can't. If you sell 5 and 1 stays in and you have to return 4, how have you made money?
Yeah.
Even the raw costs alone, you can't. Not to mention the guys unloading it, the guys you have to have there to sell it. I mean, it's just... It blows my mind.
Yeah. That's not a section of business I want to be in.
No,
So-
it's not.
Now I can't even remember where we were going before we got on that tangent.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
No, I don't think it does. So, yeah, guys, to kind of wrap this up here a little bit, look at your vendors like they're to help you be incredibly successful in business. Don't look at your vendors like they're cutting into your profits. Your vendors are what's allowing you to make profit. They're supplying you with the pieces that you need to make profit. So if you can look at them in that light, you're going to have a lot better relationship with your vendors. And that is going to transfer over to your relationship with your customers, and you're going to have a lot better relationship with your customers. So treat your vendors well. Be a customer of your vendors just like you would want your customers to be of you, and you're going to start seeing a lot more success if you do that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, guys,
Simply said.
that wraps it up for this show. Do us a favor, if you like what you've heard on this show, if this show brought you some good value, some good information, do us a favor and share this show with somebody else who might need it. You guys are all out there on different various platforms and Facebook groups and social media groups and everything else. If you see somebody on one of those groups commenting, asking newer business questions, please do us a favor and drop them a link to the show. You can find us on Facebook. If you want to find us on Facebook, we are at Podcast The Void. You'll see our Void logo on there. And if you want to tag us on Facebook, you simply just do the @ symbol and then Podcast The Void. So that's how you can share our shows really well. Another way that you can do it is whatever platform you're listening on right now, you can literally hit the share button, copy a link to it, and then paste it to wherever, whatever platform you're on. So please do us a favor and help share the show so we can get these messages out to as many people out there that need them.
That's right.
All right.
Simple enough.
We'll catch up with you later.
All right, guys. Love you.
See you.